On the verge of tighter COVID restrictions, restaurants about to close their dining rooms worry for their employees and their bottom line.
But some are taking legal action. The lawsuit just filed and why the state may have the advantage in court.
Plus, what options does the county have for enforcement? Sheriff Bill Gore sits down with ABC 10.
ABC 10 News at 6 starts now.
The sun has set for many restaurants in San Diego County. There are just hours before we will be told to close doors of indoor dining. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Those restrictions and more, they take effect at midnight. So tonight, our ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura is in Little Italy, where the usual vibrant mood of a Friday night has been dampened. Anthony.
Kimberly, Steve, this is a time of anxiety for many restaurant owners, but they are doing the best they can moving forward. Now, we are here outside of Cloak and Petal in Little Italy, and you can see through that window there indoors that they are still serving people inside where it's warmer. You can see people at the bar there, but all of that will change after tonight when everything will have to be moved outdoors. They do have a setup ready to go outside here. They have a canopy, they have heaters, they have turf, and tables for people dining out. After tonight, their outdoor areas will be key to their survival in the coming weeks.
You know, we're prepared. You know, we've done this song and dance back and forth, you know, and so we're prepared for anything that comes our way. Is it frustrating? Absolutely.
And that was the managing partner from Cloak and Petal. He goes on to say it's also tough on their staff. They say these restrictions could lead to layoffs, which is tough on everyone, especially leading into the holiday season. Now, it was the same mood at some of the restaurants in the Gaslamp Quarter. A business owner there telling us that it's been tough and they're hopeful that some type of government aid will soon be available. Now we're back out here live, and you can see that a lot of empty tables out here outside, a lot of people, or some people inside the restaurant still. But again, restaurants will have to close their indoor dining areas at midnight tonight. That's when these new restrictions will kick in, and San Diego County will be in the purple tier with these new restrictions for at least 3 weeks. And it could be longer depending on how long it takes for the county to get those COVID-19 metrics down. We're reporting live tonight, Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
Hoping they can all make it through. Anthony, thank you. Under this purple tier, bars and amusement parks must close. You know about the restaurants. Places of worship, those movie theaters, playgrounds, museums, and gyms, they can only operate outside, as we just told you. Schools that are currently distance learning, they must stay that way. Retail and shopping centers have to cut their capacity to 25% with no food courts. Offices will be pushed towards working remotely, and professional sports cannot have any crowds. With only hours left before this purple tier restriction goes into effect, some business owners are fed up with being told to move their operations outside again. ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala explains why some are taking the issue to court.
Businesses across San Diego County are hurting financially, and some say they just won't survive with more restrictions. Now, 4 businesses, Cowboy Star Restaurant and Butcher Shop, Home and Away Encinitas, Fit Athletic Club, and Bear Republic CrossFit are pushing back, filing this lawsuit against Governor Gavin Newsom and the County of San Diego, as well as other state and county officials. They're calling for an emergency injunction to stop the shutdown. The lawsuit argues that these closures go against their rights and that Newsom and the California Department of Public Health both lack the authority to impose the continuing restrictions on California businesses. All 4 businesses detail the health and safety measures they've added to provide a safe environment for staff and customers during this pandemic.
It's pretty clear that the law's on the side of the governmental authorities to try to get this under control. And so why they continue to file lawsuits, it's beyond me.
Local attorney Jan Ronis is not involved in this case, but says when the pandemic began, he reviewed emergency legislation that is available to the government at both the state and federal level.
These laws have been in the book for decades. Governments have used them sparingly. Quite frankly, think they're valid. As surprised as I was by the breadth and scope of the government authority once these emergency declarations are declared.
He says he's seen similar suits filed across the state during the last several months, and most don't hold up in court.
I really feel sorry for the businesses, and this But the fact of the matter is, this is a monumental health crisis.
Dr. Wilma Wooten, San Diego County's public health officer, recently asked the state to allow the county to stay in the red tier, stating that businesses like restaurants and gyms are not the cause for the local increase in COVID cases, but will be impacted the most by purple tier restrictions. The lawsuit says despite the data provided by Dr. Wooten, the state still denied the request without any justification based on science or data. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
The firm that filed the lawsuit and the County of San Diego both say they do not comment on pending litigation.
President Trump is promising Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine will be available to healthcare workers in December and to all Americans by early spring. He says he expects the Food and Drug Administration to grant emergency use authorization for it soon. The president singled out New York, where Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo has said he wants New Yorkers to wait to take the vaccine until state health officials assess it.
As soon as April, the vaccine will be available to the entire general population, with the exception of places like New York State, where, for political reasons, the governor decided to say, and I don't think it's good politically, I think it's very bad from a health standpoint, but he wants to take his time on the vaccine.
California, Oregon, Washington, and Nevada are also putting any coronavirus vaccines through an independent review before distributing them. Early results suggest the Pfizer vaccine could be 90% effective. And the county reported 611 new COVID cases today. That brings our total to just under 63,000. The county also reported 3 new deaths. That means 921 San Diegans have died from COVID so far. If you're traveling out of state for the holidays, you're being asked to quarantine for 14 days when you get back. Today, California joined Oregon and Washington in issuing a travel advisory. If you're going to either of those states, you're asked to quarantine when you get there. All 3 states are urging people to stay close to home to limit the spread of COVID-19. To get the latest coronavirus developments with the free ABC 10 News app, you can find that in the App Store.
The last remaining states in the presidential election have been called. Joe Biden is projected to win Georgia. President Trump wins North Carolina. Also today, the Trump campaign withdrew a legal challenge to review ballots in Arizona. And a judge in Michigan has rejected a Republican suit aimed at stopping the certification of Michigan's vote. In the meantime, the recount is officially underway in Georgia. Workers across the state have until Wednesday to hand count nearly 5 million ballots. Georgia's Secretary of State ordered the recount because of the narrow victory by President-elect Biden. The ballots being counted have already been verified.
These are ballots that have been determined to be valid because the signatures on the absentee mail applications and the registration record have already been verified. So they have already been determined to be valid ballots, and they are just being recounted.
By state law, Georgia must certify its vote total by next Friday. So joining us again to go over the latest developments with the election is law professor Craig Barkas from the University of San Diego. Craig, thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
We got a lot to unpack here. The president has lost a string of lawsuits, as we mentioned, and his legal team also seems to be growing smaller as well. Today, it was reported another law firm is dropping its representation of the president's campaign. They were the ones leading the suit in Pennsylvania over those election tallies. So in your opinion, how will this affect the president's legal fight going forward?
Well, I think this past week was the week that was going to indicate whether the lawsuits were going to gain any traction. And I think we've learned throughout this week that they really haven't gained much traction. And the reluctance of the law firm to proceed on the president's behalf suggests that they don't see a path forward to victory. So the results are starting to stack up against the president, and it's looking less and less likely that he's going to find the relief that he's hoping for in the courts.
It does look dim. Okay, in Georgia, we mentioned the state officials, they have just 5 days to complete the recount there and just 2 days after that to certify that tally. Now, this was an automatic recount because of the narrow margin in the race. This is a state law, but if that recount doesn't bring President Trump to within striking distance, could he push for another recount on his own?
It's not clear, but the theory is that he could. Now, the difference in this, in a President Trump recall effort would be, it would not be a by hand recall. It would be through the machine. So that would be a lot faster. But theoretically, he could ask for that vote as well. But when you're looking at the Electoral College, right now, the president has a multi-state problem. With Georgia, the Electoral Count is up to 306 votes, and he needs about 3 states to turn the other way in order to turn around the Electoral College, and that just does not seem likely.
That's a huge thing to overcome. Dr. Barkis, thank you once again for joining us here tonight. Always appreciate your insight.
Thank you.